Hello, this is the Roaster, and welcome to the Kadaj LUFENIA clear video. And first of all, fuck this fight. Fuck this fight so much. This was so hard. I had so many retries, maybe around, definitely more than 10. Before getting into the mechanics, my strategy, what my team was built around, I have to say that most of my runs, most of my failed runs, were mostly because of RNG. So the way that this fight works is, the main thing about this fight that can really screw over your run is that this is especially if you're not running a tank or some kind of mitigator defender on your team, like Nine or Gladio, is because these two enemies usually use their recasts right after the other, and if they target the same character, except for Golbez. Golbez can tank it. But, for example, my party composition, we have Garland and P.Cecil. If both monsters target their recast on the same character, Garland or Paladin P.Cecil, they're dead. That's it. Can't do anything about it. That's a broken run. Restart. So that is the main issue I had with this LUFENIA. Mechanics that you need to worry about. The orb is not a mechanic. For the orb to not tick down, you just need to have at least one debuff. Yes, they cleanse debuffs every 10%, but as long as you have one debuff, it's not gonna tick down. And when you put the debuff on, it's gonna tick up by 2. Honestly, as long as you have a character that's that puts out debuffs regularly, like Golbez, it's not an issue. So as I said, every 10% they cleanse all their debuffs, and on 79, 49, and 29% HP, they gain this buff where brave damage they take is only 1, and they gain a buttload of brave, around 45 to 49,000, which will be enough to one-hit KO a character. And they also get their recast gauge full when that happens. So what do you need to do? You need to instant break them, or you need to gravity them, or get them to 0 somehow and then break them after, because you're not gonna break them the conventional way. They're also immune to a lot of status ailments, including delay. So even so you can see Garland is not doing his delay tactics, his delay moves, but he's still pretty strong, so that's why I took him in. So what was my strategy? Why these characters? Why these calls? P.Cecil is there to provide support. These enemies are not immune to light. That means P.Cecil is usable. You're gonna need a lot of HP because they like doing HP attacks. So P.Cecil has you covered there. Heal, P.Cecil has you covered there. More damage, more defense, P.Cecil has you covered there. Golbez is there for the orb, which is a non-issue, and because they are weak to dark, and of course it's still Golbez's banner season, his banner period. So he's still synergy. He's still incentivized to be used. He hits hard this stage, and I mean hitting 120, 150 to 200 plus every turn. He is insane for this stage. If you have Golbez, you need to bring Golbez. And Garland is there for the damage and for the burst, because among all my burst characters, he is currently my favorite in terms of dealing damage. Now, if this team is pretty risky. So as I said, I had to restart a lot of runs, because if the enemy's recast were targeted on one character, that character's dead. If you had a tank like Gladio or a mitigator like 9, who is synergy for this fight, that might not be your problem. However, I did try bringing 9 here, and my problem with that party build was damage. So 9's not really the best at dealing damage, and he doesn't have that much longevity when it comes to his skills. So I had a really hard time balancing his skills and getting him to pump damage. So I ended up taking him out and putting in Paladin Cecil. So my friend unit and my calls are there to deal with the bravery reduction mechanics at 79, 49, and 29%. So what I did, as most of you saw, when they reached 79% and did their buff, is I used Amidatelian's LD call. Amidatelian's LD call brings enemies brave down to 0. And then just do an AoE attack and they're broken. And then their buff is removed. For the 49% buff, you'll see in a bit, is I'm gonna use my Sephiroth Friends unit's burst. If you don't know what Sephiroth's burst effect does, is enemies brave will always stay at 1. So they are even though they have, you know, a brave reduction buff, they only have 1 brave, and you will be dealing at least 1 damage. So they'll be broken. Plus, it's gonna be a DPS phase, because you're just gonna keep breaking them. You're gonna keep getting that break bonus, and it's gonna be damage through the roof. And with Sephiroth's burst, it's gonna be a rush, as I will also activate Garland's burst there and take them down as low as possible. So the great thing about Sephiroth's burst and Sephiroth himself as a friend unit is I was able to make him last from 49% up to 29% of their HP. So that means with his burst effect still there, when they do reach that 29%, they're gonna use their buff, their brave's gonna shoot up, and then because of Sephiroth, their brave is gonna shoot back down to 1. Now, only one of these enemies got affected by Sephiroth's burst a second time. However, before Sephiroth left, he was able to use his EX, which is a gravity attack. So the other enemy's brave got shrunken down to 0, and then the next character was able to break it. So that's once again a non-mechanic again. Alternatives to Sephiroth is definitely Golbez. So if you don't know Golbez's burst ability, enemies won't be able to gain brave. So you use his burst before they get their buff. So most likely, if you were going on the offensive, they were probably on break. And then you use Golbez's burst. They get you take them down to the HP threshold where they get their buff. What happens is they get the buff, but because of Golbez's burst ability, their brave stays at 0. So you break them, and that's it. Those are the two best friend units that I can suggest if you don't have Golbez's burst yourself. If you do have Golbez's burst, or you have Sephiroth's burst and then you want to use him, then maybe a Garland friend, just to get that insane BT buff and go on a damage spree. And then on the last legs of the fight, it was a race. I honestly thought maybe I wasn't gonna make the cut, because this is a 70 turn count battle. It's very tight. So at the end, I had to bust out Diablos and use everyone's LD. I still had maybe two uses of everyone's LD at least, or at most. I mean, at most two more uses. Busted them all out there. All of the calls that I didn't use yet, which was most of them, I busted them all out there just for those extra damage, because the turn count was so tight. So my calls, I already talked about Amidatelion. Use Amidatelyon's LD call, get their Brave down to 0, break them. My other calls, there's Jack. Jack's LD call is also an instant break. So just in case maybe you slip up on getting their HP thresholds down at the same time, or your turn order was very unlucky and you can't do any of your like friend unit calls or the Amidatelion call, Jack's there, who can he can break one enemy, take note. So the other one still needs to be dealt with. And then P.Cecil has Arciela on him. This doesn't really work as well without 9. So I figured out how to use Arciela's call to counter the HP threshold mechanics, but I did it with 9. It was a lot more consistent with 9. You can still use it with P.Cecil, but the way it works is Arciela's LD, just like Golbez's burst, prevents enemies from gaining Brave. However, it's a debuff, so you can't really place, you can't use the call before they reach the HP threshold. You need to do it after. So how do you get them to have 0 Brave with that ability? Is you let them hit you. This worked really well with 9 because 9 would call Arciela. Arciela would apply the debuff, and then 9 would use his White Knight ability, preventing HP damage. So they would attack, they would deal 0 HP damage, their Brave would stay at 0, and they would be primed for breaking. Without 9, or maybe Gladio, or anyone who can prevent HP damage, it could still work, assuming that your characters won't die. If your characters won't die from the recast, then yeah, Arciela's LD ability will keep them at 0. You can break them and then just heal back up. However, it's not as consistent, so I didn't rely on it. I just kept it as a backup, and I ended up not having to use it because, as you'll see if you keep watching, Sephiroth is gonna last all the way down up to 29-28% HP, and he can deal with the HP threshold mechanic once again. But yeah, that's basically my strategy and all the tips and tricks that I can talk about. If you want to see like the last legs of the fight and how exactly I use Sephiroth's abilities by the second time they do the HP threshold mechanic, then keep watching. But yeah, this is the roaster. Once again, fuck this fight. I hate this. I hated this so much. And I'll see you in the next LUFENIA video.
黒竜はっ叩き潰してやる。行くぞ。あい。参れ黒竜。はっ。その手。月の導きを頼んだ。楽しませてみせろ。まだ終わらんぞ。あい。参れ黒竜。はっ。その 光のシフター力を
パワーをメテオに。
そこ捉えました。覚悟はいいですか？常世の闇よ、そこまでです。
誇りにかけて覇者の光よやっちゃうぞ。届くんだな。見切った。
放送の正しい色。これが本当だ。まだ終わらんぞ。